I recently had the opportunity to visit my first international Universal theme park as well as the most visited park in Asia, Universal Studios Japan in Osaka. Though we only had one day to spend there, it made for one of the highlights of our 2025 Asia tour, no questions asked. While I would have loved to have another day in the park, I feel like I got a really good feel for Universal Japan and I also got to experience all the rides I wanted to. So in today's video, I'll be ranking my top 10 favorites, but I did want to run through a few honorable mentions before we begin. First off, Waterworld is a spectacular stunt show and one of my favorite things to do in any of the Universal parks that feature one. But since it doesn't qualify as a ride, I decided not to rank it. 2. Universal Studios Japan used to be home to The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man the Ride until 2024, a motion-based 3D dark ride that you can still experience at the Universal Orlando Resort. Personally, it's an all-time favorite of mine, and it's a shame they had to remove it due to licensing issues. It's my understanding that they'll be replacing it with a fully original dark ride in the future, but I think they should do it sooner rather than later, as the closure really left a gap in the park's ride lineup in my opinion. Nevertheless, there's plenty of fun stuff to enjoy here, so let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. Kicking things off at number 10, we've got Flight of the Hippogriff, located in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. This Vekoma family coaster is a solid ride, but nothing particularly special. Its pacing is great as it zips from one element to the next, and I appreciate that they dressed up what would otherwise be a generic cloned coaster model. You can find this ride at several other Universal parks, but at the Hollywood location close to where I live, they hired Mock Rides to do this instead, and I think it turned out even better. So compared to that, and just in the grand scheme of things, it's rather forgettable, but still a good stepping stone coaster for those trying to work their way up to the bigger ones. Number 9, Yoshi's Adventure, located in Super Nintendo World. I actually did not experience this at Universal Studios Japan, but they cloned this entire themed area for Epic Universe in Florida, so I got to give it a spin there. And although I wasn't all too excited for it going in, I was pleasantly surprised for what it is. The Omnimover system is utilized well for the superb views of the land, which is overstimulating in the best way possible, as well as the dark ride scenes that were nicely done. Not really a story-driven attraction, but it's fun seeing all of your favorite characters from the Mario franchise. Number 8, Spy X Family, otherwise known as Space Fantasy the Ride, located in Hollywood. Ahead of my trip, I was under the impression that this coaster was closed for refurbishment, but as it turns out, it happened to be undergoing a temporary retheme under a different name, which I totally overlooked. But I'm glad I got to experience it, mainly for that sweet layout done by Mock Rides. This is an indoor spinning coaster that's supposed to make you feel like you're in space, whizzing around planets and whatnot. And when we did it, there were virtual and augmented reality goggles equipped with the overlay. Personally, while this was cute and very Japanese, I've never been a big fan of VR on coasters. Not that they did a bad job with it or anything, but I would have rather seen them embrace the space fantasy theme during my visit. Number 7, Mario Kart Koopa's Challenge, located in Super Nintendo World. Like Yoshi's Adventure, this was another ride I skipped solely because we have the same thing in America both at Epic Universe and Universal Studios Hollywood. When this first opened, I remember how surprised people were simply because there hadn't been another ride exactly like it. But now, it receives more criticism than ever, and to an extent I understand why, but part of me can't help but ask, isn't this excessive? A lot like Spy X Family, this uses virtual and augmented reality goggles 100% of the time, which I'm not a fan of, particularly on this attraction. There's just too much going on, and I think the goggles and ride system at large was a really poor decision for a Mario Kart themed ride. That being said, the practical sets are exceptionally impressive and do a great job transporting you into the Mario universe. I'll often take off my goggles just to admire these sections to the best of my ability. So yeah, it's hit or miss, it does some things very well and some things very wrong, but overall, I think it's well worth your time if you've never done it before. Number 6, Minecart Madness, located in Donkey Kong Country. The lone attraction in this expansion to Nintendo World, Minecart Madness made its debut here in Japan, but was also replicated for Epic Universe in Florida. It would use a prototype ride system known as the Boom Coaster, which simulates track jumps. This is possible thanks to an arm which holds the car above a fake section of track that's connected to real track hidden out of view. It's an incredibly unique idea and the Donkey Kong theme fits brilliantly, so I've got to commend them on both of those things. I'm also a big fan of the theming and animatronics present. I think they did a great job making this a visual spectacle. Where I draw issue with Minecart Madness is A, that it's a pretty rough ride, and B, more importantly, the track jump gimmick doesn't always work. Sadly, this technology has its limitations that are entirely out of Universal's control, so at times, you can pretty vividly see the real track, and that's a shame. But for me, and I think most would agree, this is the best ride in all of Super Nintendo World. It may have its flaws, but it's still a lot of fun. Number 5, Hollywood Dream the Ride, located in Hollywood. The park's front gate attraction, this large ball yard mab yard roller coaster has a lot going for it. Despite the POV footage on screen here, it's an impeccably smooth ride and there's a lot of airtime to be found over these camelback hills. I'm also a big fan of the flawless execution of onboard audio, which can be a coin flip whether it'll work well on coasters. All in all, I think this thing's a blast, but because I'm a nerd, I do have to draw some comparisons to other rides of this genre, and that's where I'm a little mixed on Hollywood Dream. Although it's associated with the hypercoaster model, this ride only stands 144 feet tall. Relative to literally all of its sister rides around the world, it's the shortest one, and that boggles my mind a little. Due to the lack of size and speed, I feel they were only able to do so much with the layout. It was a solid attempt for sure, but I can't help but think about the what ifs, assuming raising the height to 200 feet was an option. One more thing I feel the need to mention is Universal Japan offers guests the opportunity to ride in a backwards facing train, which I'd heard adds a lot to this coaster. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I only got to try this once in the forwards direction. I don't think Hollywood Dream Backdrop would have been quite enough of an improvement for me to raise it a spot on this list, but I don't know for sure, so let me know in the comments if I'm missing out. Number 4, Jurassic Park the Ride, located in, of course, Jurassic Park. This exciting boat ride wasn't exactly new to me, as I have experience riding it at the Universal Orlando Resort as well as the revamped iteration at Universal Studios Hollywood. But as much as I love those rides, I think the one here in Japan might have been my favorite of them all, mainly because everything was in tip-top shape. Oftentimes I expect an animatronic or two to be broken on the versions in the United States, but here, I didn't spot anything out of the ordinary. Jurassic Park can be broken up into two halves. You got the slow-moving river cruise making up the first, and a fully immersive dark ride portion complete with a massive final plunge in the second. While I have a slight preference for the second half, I think everything comes together seamlessly, and I'm a big fan of the fact that Japan kept the original theme for theirs. Number 3, Jaws, located in Amity Village. An original ride in an original themed area, yeah, Jaws is a key component of this park. Once upon a time, they did actually have this at Universal Studios Florida, and since I grew up going to that park, I did have the chance to ride it as a kid. But I was so young that I have no recollection of what that was like whatsoever, so in many ways, that made me even more pumped up to experience this. If you're familiar with Jungle Cruise at the Disney parks, Jaws works the same way, where you have a skipper on board your boat guiding you through the area. It's a peaceful, scenic journey for the first quarter of the ride, but then you take a wrong turn and there's Bruce the shark. I was legitimately frightened by the animatronic's appearance and sudden movements, accompanied by epic water and fire effects. The shark pops off many more times than I expected, and your skipper interacts with it by firing off a shotgun. It is such a good time. I absolutely loved it. This is a can't miss, guys. Number 2, Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, located in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Though you can find this exact ride at the majority of Universal parks worldwide, its popularity is plenty excusable. When Forbidden Journey made its debut in 2010 at Universal Orlando, it was a smash hit and really changed the game for dark rides. This would utilize a dynamic Kuga arm system that spins you around and points you at screens and practical sets. A perfect mix, should I add, though I do prefer the latter, as the screen quality has diminished over time and results in a bit of a nauseating ride. Still, I applaud its execution for the most part, as it's impeccably immersive and really makes you feel like you're flying. Personally, I was never super engrossed by Harry Potter and don't know what's going on all the time, but it doesn't even matter. Anyone can appreciate the brilliance of the theming here. It's a super long ride as well, always worth the wait, absolutely one of the best dark rides out there. But I'll keep it real, I think number 1 was a complete and utter blowout, because Flying Dinosaur, located in Jurassic Park, is one of the best rides out there, period. Up until recently, it was rare that Universal would go all too intense with their roller coasters, so it was shocking when they debuted Flying Dinosaur and everyone was saying it was one of the craziest rides on the planet. For my taste, I love that sort of thing, but I understand if this isn't for everyone. Built by Bolliger and Mabillard, this is the most demented flying coaster in existence, a type of roller coaster which seats riders beneath the track in a prone position, hence the theme. You actually feel like a flying dinosaur as you soar up and over Jurassic Park. On numerous occasions, you'll also dive towards the ground until you're flat on your back, and when this happens, you're absolutely crushed by forces and will be graying out. But I also adore the second half, which throws in some gentler but still intense helixes, dips, and inversions. I'll also commend Flying Dinosaur for how smooth it is, which kept me wanting to go back in line over and over again. I'm not sure it's good for my body to be marathoning something like this, but what the hell, we're in Japan, am I right? Anyways, I'd love to hear in the comment section below how you rank the rides of Universal Studios Japan, either by your own personal experiences or which are highest on your bucket list. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Coaster Dash for more content like this in the future. If you'd like to support me directly, check out my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description and pinned comment for those interested. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.